Well, good morning,
All right. Hey, happy Friday.
and to you. That's awesome. Looks like you're wearing a shirt in honor of your son today.
Oh, yeah. Top of the pile. Yeah, he's pretty excited about the upcoming marching band season. So, um yeah, we're halfway through the summer already. So before we know it, it's going to be fall football and marching band and the whole thing.
You'll have to go support him again, huh? That'll be awesome.
Yep. Yep.
Will this be his sophomore year?
No, third year already.
Junior year? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chad, we were just talking about him leaving home.
I know.
That just seems like a week or two ago. Wow.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Time
Yeah.
flies when you're having fun, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we didn't get to meet last week, 4th of July. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. How was that for you? I know that you have a really big fireworks
oh,
thing at your
yeah.
place.
So we've got a guy that lives here. He's a billionaire, and he loves celebrating freedom and liberties and patriotism. Very much loves the United States and the freedoms and so forth. Very patriotic that way, and so he spends a lot of money to make sure
Mm.
that he's the largest fireworks show west of the Mississippi.
Oh my gosh.
That's his thing is whatever it takes. I've got to be the biggest. And I should
Huh.
say he wants the show here to be the biggest west of the
Yeah.
Mississippi. Yeah, our I don't know what the population grows to here, but I it at least doubles. I'm sure it's even bigger than that, but people
Wow.
from all over,
Yeah.
they'll fly in here even for the fireworks. So yeah,
Huh.
it's amazing. So
Cool.
how was yours?
Yeah, so not the biggest show east of the Mississippi, but up in northern Michigan, we had a great time where my family is located where I was raised, and um, we did the whole thing. There's fireworks over the lake and hanging out with my siblings and all of the kids and my mom, and it was good.
That's
Yeah,
great.
very busy. Oh,
I think my internet had a hiccup.
yeah, you look like a mannequin for a second.
You did too.
Oh,
Oh, anyway,
well, I was thinking
finish
the
your
other
story
day.
about over the lake.
Oh, um, yeah, so the fireworks are over the lake, and it was a pretty good show. The night before that, they did a drone show, which I'd not seen before, and
Oh, I'll
that
bet.
was kind of interesting. Um,
So was
if
it
you can appreciate what it takes for all the drones to be in sync was kind of cool.
so it was a lighted drone show then?
Yeah, 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 it was pretty neat. We didn't have the best view of it, but it was still really cool. I mean, just to think about all of those little things flying around and being in perfect sync and not crashing into each other. It's pretty cool.
Hmm. I'm thinking about that. They must have a central control or something that
Yeah, I don't know how they do it, but yeah,
synchronize. I mean, having 40 guys right there trying to
yeah, yeah,
at
that's
the same
yeah,
time, I'm not sure that'd work, but I
right.
don't know.
Yeah.
That's for somebody smarter than me. So
Yeah, we just enjoy the lights. That's good enough.
I know how to light fireworks.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I was thinking the other day, I couldn't wait to mention this to you, but I remembered a few weeks ago you said something about donuts and that we would have to come back to it. And so I think today might be, you know,
Okay, well, we'll talk about we call it the donut syndrome around here at our house.
Okay.
And so the reason we use a donut, I don't know, I love donuts, but what's funny is after I eat a donut, it was not that great. And
Yeah.
so and that's why we call it the donut syndrome.
Okay.
There's so much in life that when you think about it and you anticipate it and you do all the work to get up to it, and then you finally get it, and it's like, that was it.
Hmm.
That was it.
Hmm.
We've got a little donut shop here. It's called Baker's Dozen. It's kind of an icon around here, and it's a little homegrown bakery. And the guy that founded it suddenly died, and so the donut shop shut down, and it was just like this big. Forgive the pun here, but it was like this big hole in,
Wow, perfect.
the in the culture around here. And what's funny is, I don't know, it was like 2.5 years later, this this family decided to go to the heirs of this and buy the
Hmm.
uh, little store, the equipment. What they wanted mostly was the recipes that this guy
Hmm.
was doing, and so they bought this from the families. And man, it was just this wonderful look. We're going to hold true to his, founder thing, and we're going to produce the same stuff that he was producing, and they've done a really good job. And so around here, you go to this donut shop, but you anticipate it. It's like, oh man, it's Saturday morning. We
Yeah.
want to just have a leisure. Let's go get donuts at Baker's Dozen, and you bring them home, and here's this big box of donuts and maple bars and cinnamon rolls, and you look at it and you go, oh man, this is going to be heavenly, and you eat that, and it's just this huge letdown. The anticipation was so much better than eating the donut.
Yeah.
And an hour later, you're lethargic and you're kind of dragging.
Hmm.
And you're going, why? Oh, yeah, we had donuts this morning. And so we call it the donut syndrome. And I'm not bashing on anything. I'm just going to tell you our experience. Um, the idea of a ski boat at our house
Hmm.
is huge. We would love to own a ski boat. Okay. Um, Many years back, I used to be a service manager of a RV shop. Um, did a little bit of the sales, but mostly did the service and the parts. And so I got to go test ski boats all the time. We'd fix them, and I'd take them down to the river, and I'd
Hmm.
drive them around, make sure that they worked. And sometimes I'd get stranded out, and
Yeah.
because it didn't work. Anyway, so on occasion I would just take one on the weekend, and we would just go as a family. And it was like, oh, well, why don't we buy one? And so I don't know, about 7 years ago, yeah, I think about 6, 7 years ago, we bought some of these little sit on top kayaks, and we said, okay, if we use these, this is
Hmm.
cheaper than buying the ski boat.
Yes.
But if we use these, and we just stick with it, and we just anticipate that and go boating, we'll move into a ski boat. Okay, 6 or 7 years, let's call it six. We've used them once.
What?
Once. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
And so that's the donut syndrome, is just that anticipation of owning something, and just the nostalgia and the romance of we're going to go skiing every week. And we would love to own a camp trailer too, same thing. Okay. Well, how many times have we been camping the last 5 years?
Hmm.
maybe
Yeah.
maybe twice. Okay.
Okay.
But the romance and the nostalgia of that,
Hmm.
and it would drive me nuts. So we call it the donut syndrome, because the anticipation, the romance, the wonderful experience that it's going to be really builds up in your mind. But the reality, when you're eating it, and the after effect, having a boat and an RV camp trailer in my driveway, that I'm making payments on that I've used.
Mm, yeah.
Okay, that would drive me nuts. Or the opposite, the other, not the opposite, but the other side of that thing would be I would have to push my lifestyle to that. In other words, I've got to justify, okay, I've got this stuff. And like I say, I'm not bashing on trailers and boats. This is just our lifestyle and things that we've chosen to do don't fit that. It's like a dog. I don't fault
Mm,
anybody for having a dog, but our lifestyle does not allow me to have a dog that I have to pay attention to. I'm too busy for
yeah.
that to give it the
Yeah.
proper. But the idea of having a dog, I love it. Okay.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Sounds great. So anyway, we test things, oh man, that'd be really great to have a second home up in the forest and, spend a couple of $1 million and get a nice piece of land and a nice
Yeah.
cabin. That would be really great. Okay, great. How many times have you been camping out in the forest in the last week? And would you have to force
Mm.
your lifestyle to go justify having that how I don't know if that makes sense. And
Oh my gosh, totally. I mean, this is America. I mean, this is what we do. It's in our DNA that we would just go and um, pursue and have all of the things because that's what our Declaration of Independence says that we must pursue
happiness.
happiness.
Yeah.
And and the way that we decide to do that is through experiences and things because that's what's going to make us happy. And I love that word romanticize. We romanticize these
We
things in our
do.
mind, no matter what it is. I mean, we kind of pick on recreation and those kind of toys and stuff, but it could be anything. I know people who are so bent on uh, you know, fancy vacation and or the second house or
I
now you're
totally.
organizing your whole life around this thing
Yeah.
and
An exotic
ultimately it's not
car,
gonna
right.
yeah it's gonna leave
Even
you
e-
empty.
even a career. And here again, I'm not bashing on anybody. You have to decide what your life is and what you want
Yeah.
and what's important to you, what your standards are. You've got to decide that and then do the donut test.
Yeah, I love the concept of testing it. I think it's brilliant that you went with the kayaks as a low entry investment to see, and then realize that, hey, we're not these people. We thought we were, but we're not these people. So we just saved ourselves a bunch of trouble. Man, that is great. Um, we've been in that position before too. We were this close to um, getting involved in a summer place. And we couldn't get past that idea you said of organizing our life to be at that place to the exclusion of virtually
Well,
every other opportunity because you can't do it all.
well,
And
yeah, and it's the exclusion of the things that you've chosen. Okay,
yeah,
these are things that I've chosen. This is my lifestyle I've chosen, and I
yeah,
have to walk away from that. And that's not a bad thing, okay?
right.
Because that's how we progress as we walk away from where we were before. But we have to test that and say, okay, is this really a progression, or is this going to distract from what I'm wanting to
Yes,
accomplish?
yes. I love that. And I want to hit on that idea for um, other things besides things, habits, for example.
Hmm.
We should also be testing habits. This thing that everybody says is a great idea. This is how you get better or whatever. Um, I think so often we want to go whole hog into that thing because it works for everybody else, only to find ourselves exceedingly frustrated and um, kind of burdened by it. And then we don't know what to do. Well, this is supposed to be some great thing, and it's not working for me. So then, what do we do now? And I think there's some wisdom in being careful about how we approach even such things like habits.
I mean, it sounds really. I would love to go do Spartan races all the time, but a lot of them, in fact, most of them are on Sunday, and
Mm,
again, I'm not bashing
yep.
that. It's my
Yeah.
choice. I've just chosen to not do that type of thing on Sundays, and
Right.
as a result, I don't compete on Sundays. And so, I'm not always doing those things, but the romantic thing of doing those and just living that lifestyle,
Hmm.
that's pretty romantic, and it's very
Yeah.
appealing, but it distracts from what my wife and I have decided, that here's how we're going to live. And so,
Yes.
to your point, those habits, we have to be so careful. So and so says this diet's good. Well, it might be, but does it accomplish what you're wanting to accomplish?
Yeah. Exactly.
Or and there's nothing with that, nothing wrong with the outside influence, but make sure that it's absolutely congruent and helps you along with what you're trying to accomplish.
Yes. Man, that is so good. And doesn't it speak so much to a topic we talk about often, and that's our values and our convictions, right? I mean, you can't possibly decide any of that stuff if you don't know what's important to you. And that sounds really silly. It's like, well, of course I do. Well, have you actually thought about what's really important to you? Because if you have, then that should be driving your decisions and making such things a lot easier.
Yeah, I still go back to my mother. I remember very vividly. I was 6 years old, and I was sitting on the floor, and she was up on the couch. We were just having this nice little visit, and she just totally changes the subject and looks at me and says, "Son, will you promise me that you'll never smoke
Hmm.
cigarettes?"
Okay.
And I thought, Mom, I will never smoke. And I remember that. So it's such a, what do I call it? A touch point in my life. I can go back and relive that, and it's vivid for me. But I've thought about that, and if we find those values, to your point, if we find those values and standards and make a decision, a really conscious, sincere, fully intended decision, we only have to make the decision once. See, I never had to decide whether or not to smoke when my friends offered me, or when I never had to make that
Yeah.
decision. I made it. It was
Yep.
done. And, if you want to look at it really in a funny vein, I was really lazy. I just did it once. I didn't do it,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. Um, in the morning, as far as exercise, maybe you're at this point, but when I get up, I know it's just a foregone conclusion. Raining, snowing, I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm up exercising. That I just
Yeah.
made the decision a long time ago that that's my life, is
Yeah.
that I get up early and I exercise first thing, and
Yeah.
it's just a thing. I don't have to decide every morning. We'll call it
Right.
lazy. I made
Yeah.
the decision once.
Yes. Oh, that is fantastic. It seems like I'm surely in this category, but it just seems like with all of the options and opportunities that we have, um, it's harder to have such convictions, I think. I don't know how many times it's happened to me, but I also do it myself. I'm certain, where I have this great conviction of, this is the decision that I'm going to make. But then all of a sudden something comes along that's, maybe a little bit more entertaining or a little bit more fun or a little bit more whatever. And it makes holding to that decision quite difficult. And and then because of how I'm wired, I'll analyze that to death and work myself up all over it, when the reality is I technically already made that choice. And
Be
why am I
lazy.
making this so hard? Just be lazy and stick with what you've always done and leave it alone.
Excuse me. Yeah.
This is the plan from the beginning. Um, so I guess preaching to myself here, I need to make sure I know my values are so that I can make those decisions a lot easier. And for anybody who isn't clear about those things, we need to be spending time thinking about that so that when these other things come along, the temptation to buy a boat or whatever, we can be like, that's easy. I'm not doing it because I've already,
Here's my,
or
yeah.
yes, this is what's right for me and my family, and we're going all in here because this is the thing. And my brother is a good example of that. Um, he bought a boat. He bought a used boat and it was very affordable. It fit in all of his budget and whatever. But you know what? His family loves that, and that's what they do,
And
and
that's
it's great
great.
for them.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. That's I totally hold with that. A boat will make a better family, but that's a conscious decision for that family.
Yes.
Um,
Right.
we've just decided to do other things. For instance, we went on a hike the other day. Well, some people look at that and go, "A hike? I'm out." You know,
Yeah.
that sounds
Right.
hard. I'm out. But it's not good or bad. It's just what have you decided to do? You know,
Yeah.
it I think you have to make the right decisions though, and I think
Yeah.
you have to follow some guidelines. Can I? But what's funny is this falls right in line, and we keep we keep making this observation. We don't show up with a script or anything, but it's so funny that the thinking process just comes out.
Sure.
I was reading the other day, just some stuff, and this hit me so hard. It's one of those things but when somebody else says it, you go, "Wow, that's just really powerful." I'm sure
Yes.
we've all had that. This is Dennis Kinlaw, a quote by Dennis Kinlaw, and it's talking about how we just get off track a little bit. But here's how he put it, and he puts it in a kind of a gospel religious vein, and it's so true. Here's his quote: Satan disguises submission to himself under the ruse of personal autonomy. He never
Mm.
asks us to become his servants. Never once did the serpent say to Eve, I want to be your master. The shift in commitment is never from Christ to evil, it is always from Christ to self. And instead of his will, self interest now rules, and what I want reigns. And that is the essence of sin.
Oh, snap.
Okay. And so it's just
Yeah.
those little tiny distractions that just
Yes.
if I were to come to you and say, I want you to just absolutely blow up your family and be in discord and divorce your wife, you'd say, no way.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You're,
Yeah.
you're not going to do that. But we let these little tiny things come in and compound on each other,
Hmm.
and it's our own self decisions. And I'm going to call them semi unconscious decisions. What's the enemy of great things? What's the
Mm.
enemy of great things? It's
Good
good things,
things.
okay?
Yeah.
But it's the buildup of those, and I'm using air quotes here, those
Hmm.
good things that take us off track a little at a time. And when we're pointing the wrong way, it takes us off track just a little bit more. The compound effect of that will take us 180 degrees from where we intended to
Yes.
go. And it's
Yeah.
so, you know, I love that quote. I just ran into that this week.
Yeah. Will
And
you
just
send that to me?
I
I want to
will.
record that.
I will. It's funny. He doesn't come blatantly out, and I know
Yes.
this is in a religious vein, but it still applies even in day-to-day things. They don't come at us and say, totally upset your life. It's like, man, try this donut.
Mm. Hmm. Yeah.
Try this donut.
This will make you happy. You will
Here's a
have,
maple bar.
yeah.
It's not, hey, be obese and go into the hospital with a sugar problem or a diabetes problem or a heart. It doesn't show
Yeah.
up that way. It shows up as, here, try this little thing.
Mm. Yeah, so good.
and donuts are good. I'm not against
Yes.
donuts.
Yes.
They just don't take me where I want to go.
Yes.
Yeah, that just blew my socks off when I read that. It was just really
Yeah,
good.
that is so good. So good. The subtlety of it and the and thereby highlighting the importance of our decisions and being conscious and aware of what we're choosing and why we're choosing it. And does it align with who I want to be or where I'm going? Man, I just think that we spend so much time worried about, what's going to make me happy and chasing these things to realize that it doesn't make us happy. And so then we move on to the next thing and we spend our entire life just
Chasing happy.
pursuing happiness, and it's like that's we're doing it wrong.
Well,
We're
I
doing
think
it
you
wrong.
just, I think you, what we need to do is we need to be happy and pursue that. I think we need to
Yeah.
just switch that.
Yeah. Happiness is our choice
Hmm.
and it should be independent of our circumstances.
Well,
And
and then pursue what that choice is.
yeah, yeah, man. Uh, Here I thought the donut was going to be more like light and fun. And no, you just like cut right into the thing and it's like piercing my heart.
The donut syndrome.
Yeah.
Donut syndrome.
Huh. That's really good.
Well,
I can't believe we spent a whole session today talking about donuts. That's
donuts.
fantastic.
Yeah. And what's funny is I don't even want one.
I know. I don't even.
Uh, I'm going to add one more thing onto our discussion here. I think we have to make that decision, but we have to remind ourselves, consciously remind ourselves of the decision that we've made. Um, it's not any good to make that decision. For instance, I have a whole list of things that I've decided, and I remind
Mm,
myself every day of, okay, here's where I'm going. It's
yeah.
an everyday thing. Um, I hate the fact that he pointed this out, and when I first heard it, I disagreed with him vehemently.
Mm,
Darren Hardy says 95% of the time we make our decisions unconsciously.
yeah.
And I thought, no, no,
No. Yeah.
I'm really active in this. But the more I reflected on it, I thought, you know what? He's absolutely right. It's an emotional thing. There's that donut, and we just go for it, and then we get down and we go, what have I done?
Yes.
What have I done?
Yes. That's so true. I remember him. Further to that comment is that so much of our life then is on autopilot.
Hmm.
And the thing is, where is your autopilot taking you? And let's program our autopilot to take us where we want to go. And so then our automatic decisions can be heading in that good and right direction that we want because we can't get past the fact that we are mostly autopilot. That's
Yep,
just
yep.
humanity.
Well, and
So yeah,
yeah, it's for a reason. I mean, you remember when you first started driving, um,
yeah,
it was all jerky, and
stressful. Yeah,
now you can
hanging on really tight
yeah,
and
and now you can
yeah,
eat, you can talk and listen to the radio and drive, and you've
yeah,
driven through a red light or I mean a green light, and you look back, was that green or red? I can't
yeah.
look.
Well, thank you,
Anyway,
Lord. I'm safe.
yeah, yeah, glad I didn't kill anybody.
Yeah.
Anyway, I back to that. I think we just have to recalibrate every day and remind ourselves,
Yes.
here's where I'm going. And
Yes.
what is there that can help add to that and make me progress in that?
Yeah.
Decide what happiness
Ah,
is and then pursue it.
yeah. So let the donut remind us to remind ourselves of what we've already decided and where we're going.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
donut's going to show up and it's going to be tempting, but we've got to make the
Hmm.
decision beforehand. You know, instead of a donut, I'm going to have a really nice nectarine or a peach or some strawberries or, you know, something that you'll
Yeah.
feel good about after you're done. So, anyway, there you go. There's the
Uh,
donut syndrome.
yeah. Man, fantastic. That was excellent.